There is a quiet moment unfolding around you right now, a moment so subtle that most people would never notice it, yet somehow your heart has already begun to feel it. Before anything else, stay here for a little while. Don't skip. Something important is waiting for you, and it has been trying to reach you in ways you may not have recognized. Not through loud words. Not through dramatic signs. But through the gentle pull you have felt when everything became unexpectedly still. There is someone connected to your path who has been carrying a message inside their heart for longer than they planned to. They thought time would make it easier. They thought distance would bring clarity. They thought silence would answer questions that words could not. Yet something unusual has happened. The longer they remained quiet, the louder that message became within them. And now, whether they fully understand it or not, they are beginning to realize that some things are not meant to stay hidden forever. What makes this moment different is not what they are doing. It is what they are finally understanding. There was a time when they looked at you through the lens of uncertainty. They noticed pieces of you, but not the whole picture. They saw moments, but not the meaning behind those moments. Yet recently, something shifted. It was not a grand event. It was not a conversation that changed everything overnight. It was something much quieter. A realization. A connection between thoughts they had been keeping separate. Suddenly, things that once seemed confusing began fitting together. Memories started returning to them in a different light. Small details they once overlooked now seem impossible to ignore. And with every new realization, one question keeps returning to them. Why does everything keep leading back to you? Stay till the end, because the answer is still unfolding. What they are trying to tell you is not simply about feelings. It is deeper than that. It is about recognition. The kind that arrives slowly and then all at once. Have you ever looked at a photograph and noticed something new that had been there the entire time? That is what this feels like for them. They are beginning to see your presence differently. They are recognizing the value of moments they once considered ordinary. They are remembering words you spoke that seemed simple at the time but now carry unexpected meaning. It is as if pieces of a puzzle have been quietly arranging themselves behind the scenes, waiting for the exact moment when the full image could finally be seen. And yet, despite everything they are realizing, there is still hesitation. Not because the message is unclear. The message itself has become clearer than ever. The hesitation comes from knowing that once certain words are spoken, life cannot return to what it was before. That is why this energy feels so suspended right now. Like a door standing slightly open. Like a sunrise moments before the first light appears over the horizon. Something is preparing itself. Something is gathering courage. Something is moving closer than it was yesterday. But there is another piece to this story that makes it even more meaningful. While they have been trying to understand what they want to say, you have been changing too. Perhaps in ways you do not fully recognize. You have learned things. You have grown through moments nobody else completely understands. You have carried questions without immediate answers. And somehow, every step has been preparing you for a different version of yourself than the one that existed before. That is why this connection feels different now. Neither of you are standing where you once stood. The path has continued moving beneath your feet, even during seasons that seemed still. Something important is waiting for you. Not because of chance. Not because of coincidence, but because certain realizations take time to mature. Imagine trying to hear a whisper during a storm. It would be impossible. Sometimes life quiets down not to take something away from you, but to allow something meaningful to finally be heard. And somewhere, in ways both visible and invisible, a message is becoming impossible to ignore. A message that has been waiting patiently for the right moment. A message that carries more sincerity than you may realize. For now, do not rush ahead searching for every answer. Let this unfold naturally. Let curiosity remain alive. Because what they are beginning to understand is only the first layer of a much larger revelation. There is still one detail they have not fully admitted even to themselves. One realization that changes the meaning of everything they thought they knew. And when that realization finally reaches the surface, the message they have been trying to share will become impossible to hold back any longer. The surprising part is not what they want to tell you. The surprising part is why they suddenly feel they cannot wait much longer to say it. And that is where this story truly begins. A strange thing happens when someone spends too long trying to ignore what their heart already knows. The truth does not disappear. It becomes quieter for a while, hiding beneath routines, distractions, and ordinary days. Then one day, without warning, it rises again, stronger than before. That is exactly where this story continues. The person connected to you has reached a place they never expected to reach. They believed they could keep moving forward without looking back. They convinced themselves they had more time. More time to think. More time to understand. More time to decide what to do with everything they have been feeling. But recently, something changed inside them, and that change has made every day feel different. Don't skip. Stay with this moment. Because something important is waiting for you. The shift began in the most unexpected way. Not through a dramatic event, but through a quiet realization they could not explain. They found themselves thinking about you during moments when they were supposed to be focused on something else. Your presence appeared in ordinary situations without invitation. A familiar phrase reminded them of you. A small detail brought back a memory. A passing thought suddenly became impossible to ignore. At first they dismissed it. Then it happened again. And again. Until they could no longer pretend it meant nothing. What surprised them most was not that they were thinking about you. It was how those thoughts made them feel. Instead of confusion, they felt clarity. Instead of uncertainty, they felt understanding. It was as though pieces of a conversation that had never fully happened were finally making sense. Questions they had carried for so long were beginning to answer themselves. And with every answer came another realization: they may have misunderstood something important from the very beginning. There are moments in life when people recognize the value of something only after stepping away from it. Not because it changed, but because distance gave them a different perspective. That perspective is growing inside them now. They are seeing qualities in you that they once overlooked. They are remembering moments that seemed small but now feel significant. They are beginning to understand that some connections leave an imprint that time alone cannot erase. And here is the part they have not spoken aloud. They are starting to wonder why every path they take keeps leading back to the same thought. Not because they are trying to force it. Not because they are searching for it. But because it keeps appearing on its own. That realization has unsettled them in the best possible way. Stay till the end, because this next piece matters. Recently, they experienced a moment of complete stillness. A moment where everything around them became quiet enough for them to hear what had been hidden beneath the noise. In that silence, they stopped asking what they should feel. Instead, they started asking why they felt it. The answer surprised them. Deep down, they realized the message they have been trying to avoid is actually the same message their heart has been repeating for a very long time. The truth is, they do not want the story to remain unfinished. That awareness arrived gently, but it arrived with incredible weight. Because once someone admits that to themselves, everything begins to look different. The future looks different. The past looks different. Even the present feels different. And now they find themselves standing between two choices. Continue pretending nothing has changed, or finally acknowledge what has been growing within them all along. Something important is waiting for you. Not because everything has already been decided, but because someone is getting closer to a truth they can no longer ignore. Yet there is still one piece missing. One final realization they have not fully reached. One discovery that connects every memory, every question, every feeling, and every moment of reflection into a single understanding. When that final piece falls into place, the message they have been carrying will no longer feel like an option. It will feel necessary. And what makes that realization so powerful is that it has less to do with what they want to say, and far more to do with what they finally discovered about you when nobody else was paying attention. That discovery is still unfolding. And when it fully arrives, nothing about their silence will feel the same anymore. The most meaningful realizations rarely arrive with noise. They do not announce themselves. They do not demand attention. Instead, they appear quietly, almost unnoticed, until one day a person looks around and realizes they can no longer see the world the way they did before. That is exactly what is happening now. The person connected to this story is standing in the middle of a change they never planned for, and the deeper they move into it, the harder it becomes to return to who they were yesterday. Stay here for a moment. Don't skip. Something important is waiting for you. Lately, they have been revisiting memories they thought were long settled. Not because they intended to, but because those memories keep finding their way back. A certain conversation. A certain moment. A certain feeling they could never fully explain. What once seemed ordinary now appears filled with meaning. They have begun looking at the past through new eyes, and every time they do, they notice something they missed before. What they missed was not a detail. It was a pattern. A pattern that has been quietly present all along. The more they reflect, the more they realize that some of the most important moments were not the loud ones. They were the moments that seemed small at the time. The brief exchanges. The unexpected smiles. The conversations that lingered in their thoughts long after they ended. Those moments carried something they could not identify back then. Now, however, that feeling is becoming impossible to ignore. And the strangest part? The realization did not arrive because someone explained it to them. It arrived because their own heart kept returning to the same place. Again. And again. And again. As if it was trying to point them towards something they had overlooked. There is a reason for that. Sometimes a person spends so much time searching for certainty that they fail to notice what has already been clear. They keep looking for bigger signs, stronger proof, louder answers. Meanwhile, the truth waits patiently in the quiet spaces they keep passing by. That is what they are beginning to understand now. The answer they have been searching for may have been standing in front of them far longer than they realized. Something important is waiting for you. Not because everything is about to happen at once, but because awareness changes everything. Once a person truly sees something, they cannot unsee it. Once they understand something deeply, they cannot return to misunderstanding it. And that understanding is growing stronger every day. There was a moment recently when they caught themselves imagining a future conversation. Not a dramatic one. Not a perfect one. Just an honest one. A conversation where they could finally stop carrying questions and start speaking openly. What surprised them was how natural that image felt. It did not feel forced. It did not feel impossible. It felt familiar, as though a part of them had been waiting for that moment for a very long time. That realization stayed with them. Long after the day ended. Long after distractions returned. Long after they tried focusing on other things. The thought remained. And every day since then, it has become a little stronger. Stay till the end. Because there is another layer to this that they are only beginning to recognize. The message they have been trying to understand is not only about what they feel. It is also about what they admire. What they respect. What they quietly appreciate. You see, sometimes people notice someone's strength only after enough time has passed for them to understand what that strength truly means. They begin to remember how someone carried themselves during difficult moments. How they remained genuine when it would have been easier to pretend. How they continued moving forward even when nobody was applauding them. Those are the things they are remembering now. Not grand gestures. Not perfect moments. The real moments. And somehow, those real moments have become the most powerful ones of all. The more they think about them, the more one question continues returning to their mind. Why do these memories still matter so much? Why do they feel so alive? Why do they seem more meaningful now than ever before? The answer is closer than they think. And that answer is leading them toward a realization they have been avoiding for longer than they realize. A realization that changes the meaning of every thought they have been having recently. A realization that explains why your presence continues appearing in places where they least expect it. But they are not fully there yet. One final piece is still moving into place. One final understanding is approaching. And when it arrives, the message they have been trying to hold inside will become clearer than ever before. Because soon, they will stop asking why they keep thinking about you. And start asking what they should do about it. There comes a moment when silence stops feeling comfortable. Not because anything is wrong, but because something meaningful has grown too large to remain hidden inside it. The person at the center of this story is approaching that moment now. They may not have reached it completely, but they can feel it drawing closer with every passing day. It is like standing near the edge of a new chapter and sensing the pages beginning to turn before your hands ever touch them. Don't skip. Stay with this. Something important is waiting for you. What makes this phase so unusual is that they are no longer trying to push these thoughts away. For a long time, they treated them like passing clouds. They assumed they would drift away on their own. They believed time would naturally create distance between them and everything they were feeling. Yet the opposite happened. The more time passed, the clearer certain truths became. And now, instead of resisting those thoughts, they have started listening to them. That single change has revealed more than they expected. Because when they finally stopped running from the questions, they began discovering answers hidden inside them. One answer appeared first. Simple. Quiet. Yet impossible to ignore. They realized that whenever they imagined a meaningful future, your present somehow found its way into the picture. Not because they forced it there. Not because they planned it. But because it appeared naturally. Like a detail that belonged. Like a piece that fit. Like something their heart understood before their mind could explain it. That realization stayed with them long after they noticed it. And once it appeared, other realizations began arriving too. Stay till the end. Because the next part is where everything becomes even more interesting. Recently, they found themselves comparing different moments in their life. Different conversations. Different connections. Different memories. And while doing that, they noticed something they had never noticed before. Very few things stayed with them the way thoughts of you did. Many experiences faded. Many moments became distant. Many memories slowly lost their color. Yet certain memories connected to you remained surprisingly vivid. Not perfect. Not idealized. Simply alive. As though time had chosen not to touch them. That discovery unsettled them at first. Then it fascinated them. Because it forced them to ask a question they had been avoiding. Why? Why do some memories fade while others remain? Why do certain people drift into the background while others continue appearing in unexpected moments? Why does your presence still feel relevant when so much else has changed? The more they explored those questions, the closer they moved toward a realization they were not prepared for. Something important is waiting for you. And it begins with this understanding. What they have been trying to tell you is not something new. The message itself has existed for a long time. What is new is their willingness to finally acknowledge it. That is the difference. For the first time, they are no longer asking whether the message is real. They are asking why it took them so long to understand it. And every answer leads them back to the same place. Back to the same memories. Back to the same reflections. Back to the same feeling that refuses to disappear. There are moments late in the day when everything becomes quiet, and those are often the moments when clarity arrives. During those quiet moments, they have begun seeing the story differently. Instead of focusing on what could have happened, they find themselves focusing on what still can happen. Instead of replaying old uncertainties, they find themselves imagining new possibilities. That shift is important. Because possibility creates movement. Movement creates courage. And courage creates action. They may not realize it fully yet, but they are already moving closer to a decision. A decision that once felt distant. A decision that once felt impossible. A decision that now feels increasingly natural. Yet there remains one final barrier. One final question they have not completely answered. It is a question that sits quietly beneath every thought they have been having. A question they return to whenever your name crosses their mind. A question that changes everything. Because once they answer it honestly, the message they have been carrying will no longer stay hidden in their heart. It will begin searching for a way to be heard. And what makes that moment so powerful is that the question is no longer about how they feel. They already know that. The question is whether they are ready to trust what those feelings have been trying to show them all along. And the answer to that question is much closer than they think. Sometimes the most important turning points do not happen when someone discovers a new truth. They happen when someone finally stops arguing with a truth they have known deep inside for a very long time. That is where this story begins to change. The person connected to you is no longer standing at the edge of uncertainty the way they once were. The questions that used to feel endless are becoming fewer. The confusion that once filled entire days is slowly giving way to something much calmer. Stay with this moment. Don't skip. Something important is waiting for you. What has surprised them recently is how different everything feels when they stop looking for complicated answers. For so long, they believed there had to be a grand explanation for why certain thoughts continued returning. They searched for logic. They searched for reasons. They searched for certainty. Yet every path seemed to circle back to the same place. Back to a feeling they could never completely dismiss. Back to a connection they could never fully explain. Back to you. At first, that realization felt almost impossible to accept. Not because it frightened them, but because it simplified everything. Sometimes the heart reaches an answer long before the mind is willing to agree with it. And when that happens, people often spend far more time questioning the answer than listening to it. That is exactly what they have been doing. But something inside them is changing now. They are beginning to listen. And the more they listen, the clearer the message becomes. Not louder. Just clearer. Like a distant landscape slowly emerging from morning mist. Like a song whose meaning suddenly makes sense after hearing it 100 times. Like a puzzle that reveals its picture when the final pieces begin connecting. The remarkable thing is that they are not discovering this message through dramatic events. They are discovering it through ordinary moments. Through stillness. Through reflection. Through the quiet honesty that appears when nobody else is around. Stay till the end. Because there is something they have only recently started admitting to themselves. They have begun wondering how different things might feel if they stopped holding back. Not because they want to rush anything. Not because they expect perfection. But because they are beginning to understand that some opportunities deserve honesty. That thought has followed them everywhere lately. It appears during quiet mornings. It appears during ordinary afternoons. It appears during those peaceful moments when life slows down just enough for the heart to speak. And every time it appears, it leaves behind the same feeling. A feeling that something unfinished is asking to be completed. Something important is waiting for you. And perhaps the most fascinating part is this. The message they are trying to tell you is becoming clearer to them because of who you are, not because of what you have done. They are remembering your authenticity. Your consistency. Your ability to remain yourself even when circumstances changed around you. Those qualities have stayed in their memory in ways they never expected. And now they are beginning to understand why. Because genuine things leave lasting impressions. They do not need constant attention to remain meaningful. They do not need constant reminders to stay remembered. They simply remain. Quietly. Steadily. Waiting to be recognized for what they truly are. That recognition is happening now. And with every passing day, it grows stronger. There was a moment recently when they realized something that stopped them in their tracks. They realized that they were no longer asking whether this message mattered. They were asking when it should finally be spoken. That single shift changed everything. Because timing is a very different question than certainty. One belongs to doubt. The other belongs to readiness. And readiness is beginning to appear. Not all at once. Not dramatically. But unmistakably. Like the first light appearing before sunrise. Like the first page of a new chapter opening before the story fully reveals itself. They are moving toward something. Toward clarity. Toward understanding. Toward a decision that feels more natural every day. Yet there is still one final realization approaching. One realization so simple that it almost seems unbelievable. A realization that explains why every path of reflection keeps bringing them back to the same place. Why every unanswered question eventually points in the same direction. Why every attempt to move past this message only made it stronger. Because soon they will understand that the message they have been trying to tell you was never really hidden. It has been present the entire time. Waiting patiently beneath every thought, every memory, every moment of reflection. And when they finally see that truth completely, the next step will feel less like a choice. And more like the most natural thing in the world.